Have you ever had a meditation sitting, resting as awareness, and then you get up, walk out and engage with people, and then you completely subside back into reactivity, dualistic thinking, and contraction? Well, in this video, I want to talk about a really key and important insight to help you work with this in a meaningful way. And at the end, I want to tie it together with a really important tip that is crucial for really letting this in daily life so that you're actually grounded, more connected and relaxed with others. So my name's Sam. I'm supporting non-dual seekers in recurrent emotional distress regulate their nervous systems. Now I want to start by telling a brief little story. I remember I went to a retreat center, Buddhist retreat center, to do an online retreat. And I remember this retreat actually went for 5 days. It was with Simply Always Awake, Angelo Dilullo. I got to the retreat and I actually, you know what I did? I extended the retreat to 8 days. I extended the meditation curriculum from 6 hours to 10 hours of meditation per day. And yeah, I was really serious about, awakening. Who am I? So I remember going into the retreat, day 1, day 2, day 3, anyway, whatever, just meditating my ass off, man. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Straining my mind. It was really effortful meditation practice. And I remember I was feeling these and this is pretty typical of retreat, I was feeling these really intense energies coming up. And one of those key energies in particular is what I want to talk about in today's video. I remember being so effortful and so contracted that from about day 5 onward in the retreat, the thought of even seeing anyone frightened me. I remember though at the end of the retreat, I had done so much meditation. I was so sensitive, so blown open, which is what happens when you're on retreat, that I remember seeing a monk up on top, right? And I remember just having that intense avoidant behavior where I just did not want to go near this guy because I was frightened of what, right? It's taken a lot of shadow work and a lot of clear seeing now and the pointer that I'm going to point to in this video to really be in more peace and ease with myself and regulate my nervous system more. But man, just that the very fact that I couldn't be seen by a monk just in this heightened, dysregulated state is something I also experienced in Vipassana meditation retreats. I've talked about this, but at the end of the retreat, I would often feel everyone's so excited to talk to everyone, and I'd be like, man, what the hell? I don't want to talk to these people. I just want to be in meditation and silence. So anyway, I tell you that out of vulnerability because A, it gets better, but B, I want to illuminate a couple of things that can really help. But first, I just want to point out, so what's actually going on there? Basically, as identity layers start falling away more and more in meditation, we'll start to feel a lot of these uncomfortable resistance patterns and emotionally volatile layers that we obscured, that was veiled by identities that we form. So some of you might be serious meditators and you're really feeling this. And it's painful. And being around people will trigger it even more sometimes. These really, the raw energies underneath all of our identity structures. But more so I want to point out as well that we can actually use meditation there to bypass feeling these uncomfortable energies. So maybe we have a really strict routine in the morning where we really heavily depend upon meditation, which actually has a sort of regulation effect, which is definitely not a bad thing, right? It's okay to have a regulated nervous system, to have a routine, but and I still do that. But what we can become aware of is, why are we doing that? Are we scared to show our vulnerability to people, so we want to look like we're the collected, have it together, peaceful meditator, for example? Could be, maybe not. But nonetheless, so we do that, we can meditate and we can sort of use it as a way to regulate our nervous system because we're uncomfortable showing and reflecting our true self to other people. So when we go out into the world, just like I did from coming out of the cave and saw that monk, man, I was terrified. I wanted to use meditation to transcend my very human, raw experience. Okay, so what can we do in that situation then? If you're identifying with this, if something's resonating here? Well, okay, so in this period of my meditative practice where I was sort of like glimpsing my awake true nature, which I feel very confident in the recognition of my true nature now. But in that period and even beyond, so like still dealing with discomfort after awakening, it felt so much of my energy was focused on resting as awareness. And I neglected the body. So feeling sensations. This is what I'm sort of going to recommend to you here. And I want to get into the nuances of what this might look like for daily life, for regular daily life practitioners, because I feel like people can very easily generalize how challenging this can be. And it's, especially if you have some of the traits that I've been talking about, man, it's not easy, right? It's not easy, and I know you know that. So what we can do is we need to bring our attention into the body more. Initially, what that looks like is building a relationship with feeling sensation in some way, shape or form, in an ongoing way. I've worked with people who are on the spectrum of they can barely be with their body for more than 10 seconds, and I've worked with people who are very deep, real-as practitioners who have a very intuitive sense, feeling the bodily sensations in an ongoing way. But if we're on that earlier end of the spectrum, it's important to start to become more aware of sensations so that you're reconnecting the mind and the body. And what that can feel like is noticing sensations of your feet more as you're walking, noticing the sensations of your hands, especially when you're in conversation, or noticing the sensation of the sun on your skin in and between conversations. It's going to be harder to do it at first when you're in conversations with people, but then when you're actually, when you really get the hang of that, you'll start to notice that, oh yeah, I can feel my feet on the ground while simultaneously talking to this person that's in front of me. That's your gateway. And that skill will keep deepening to where you can then, rather than just feeling your feet on the ground, you start to notice the subtle tensions in your legs. So this is the more advanced spectrum. You can even feel into the sort of like the bones in your legs and your thighs. You can feel into the subtle tinglings and energetic currents flowing through the thighs, down into the feet, flowing through the gut, up to the chest, flowing through the shoulders and the arms and the fingertips and the face, noticing the little subtle tensions. And we can really get good at focusing on sensation. Now, again, this will not be easy because, as I said before, as we're resting in presence more, awakening to our true nature, we're unraveling a lot of the thought-based identities that were concealing the emotion. So it's going to be really painful, like really painful to be around people sometimes because they mirror back to us energies that we haven't fully integrated within ourselves. It's never out there, it's always something that we haven't integrated. So if you see someone on YouTube who's pissing you off or something like that, as an example, it's because you haven't integrated something within yourself to have the compassionate understanding to see why they're doing what they're doing. They're a mirror. You can have discernment and have an opinion, of course, but more often than not, if you're getting mad at them or there's something you're judging about somebody on YouTube or anybody out in the world, that was just an example, there's something unintegrated in you. Now, what this will feel like on the easier end of the spectrum is you'll be able to come into contact with bodily sensation quite readily, like a pleasant bodily sensation, maybe when you're speaking with your partner or your parents or friends, like really close friends, you might notice pleasant energies. But keep your attention open. You might also notice moments where you're actually responding to the person from a state of reactivity. So it's very common where we feel like we need to fill the space, for example. And my invitation to you to really soften a lot of these social matrix buy-ins is to feel the sensation fully and be really curious about how long you can stay with that for. If you soften into presence as best you can, so keeping your attention wide and open, by asking a question like, who am I? Or however you find your way there. And then feel the sensation very fully, softening the energy, allowing yourself to feel it, so that you're talking with people and then you're sort of keeping a little bit of attention, like 33% of your attention in that sensation, 33% of your attention on the person, and 33% of your attention on the space in between and the spaciousness of consciousness. That's where we want to go, because we can invest too much of our attention into our own bodily sensation, and that creates a very self-centered gravitational effect where we're not really taking in the data of what's in front of us. Or we can focus too much on the other person, where we disembody ourselves. But if we have that understanding of holding consciousness, that spaciousness, while feeling ourselves, and then also feeling the other person, then we have a much more intelligent, embodied, and intuitive online faculty fully enabled, where we're engaging with the person in a meaningful way. You'll notice that sometimes when you're doing a practice like that, you'll feel that there are some sensations that are so ugly and so icky that we feel like we need to get away from them. For example, you might be okay with some sensations, like when somebody's angry in front of you, or when somebody's sad in front of you. More than often, if people are angry, if people in spiritual spheres, we really struggle, myself included. I've repressed anger in the past. When people are angry, we might shut down, and we might feel these really intense energies of like, oh, fuck, gotta get away, I gotta get away. And then we lose that embodiment, right? So the practice and the art becomes, how much can we bring awareness into these bodily sensations in these more uncomfortable situations, and sit with them and give them space and volume to be where they are. Right? So I want to encourage you. So that is truly a skill. Like how deeply and how deep is your love to be able to bring that into the most uncomfortable situations, and take full ownership for when you're feeling contracted, to not put it on other people, right? So feeling sensations, feeling the reactivity when we want to engage with others, feeling that impetus to do that, and then softening and feeling the sensation fully. And interestingly, if we're talking about nervous system regulation, the more that we can do that, the more that we actually build out our emotional capacity. We can handle more, especially if we're balancing this with awakening practice, like asking questions like, who am I? And abiding in presence. So by building out a nervous system capacity, by not resisting what's going on anymore, we're building out our emotional regulation, because we can handle more. And we're slowing down, we're being with what's real, and we're deconditioning mountains and mountains of karma by doing that. And for that tip that I wanted to include at the end of the video, essentially what we want to do is we want to be holding this attention in sensations, not with a braced view of expectation that something bad's going to happen the next social encounter we go into. We want to hold this experience from the view of the eternal now, by focusing our attention into presence, into consciousness, by asking our question, our entry point, such as, who am I? And then we can access that space of eternity, and then hold these sensations without any fixation. So if I'm going into a conversation with somebody and I'm speaking with them, when I'm in that eternal space as best I can, I'm not referencing the past where I previously had a reactionary experience with this person and therefore bracing for impact, for it to happen again. I'm in a space where I'm relaxing into eternity, I'm feeling sensations, and I'm in a space of complete malleability where I might be able to feel pleasant sensations toward this person. But I might also, I might encounter unpleasant sensations too, and that's fine. But I'm not clinging to that view, that previous subconscious view that was formed. So we're in this sort of free fall of letting go and opening up to what's real, rather than holding on to subtle perceptual overlays that make us suffer. Okay, so that's the advanced tip, because I think the more that we can do that, the more that we can be in the now. I hope this helps you. Subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this, and much love to you.